An explosion has rocked a military base in Cyprus, blowing up a store of confiscated Iranian weapons. At least 12 people have been killed, including the commander of the Cypriot Navy. The munitions were Iranian weapons taken from a vessel heading to Syria 2 years ago. The country's defense minister and the head of the army have both resigned.
Well, Nicosia witnessed a huge rally on Monday night. Tens of thousands of Cypriots from around the country gathered outside Presidential Palace to call for the resignation of President Christofias. Here is more.
Things are getting hot in Cyprus, and it's not just the summer heat this year. Power outages throughout the Republic have become a daily occurrence since the fatal blast that devastated a naval base last week, taking out the nearby electricity generator. With water shortages next in line as the power supply to local desalination plants has been disrupted. But the political temperature has been matching the summer heat since late last week, sparked by the seemingly spontaneous combustion as 10,000 protesters gathered in the capital to mourn the 13 deaths caused by the blast and angrily calling for retribution, starting with the president.
1 week after the blast, and the mood of simmering anger and popular protest show no signs of abating. Quite the contrary, in fact, with growing calls for the president to resign or at least form some kind of national unity government. So, with headlines like "Betrayed" running the country's largest English-language newspaper, where are we all heading?
It's impossible to tell. I think it really is impossible to tell. The government seems to be at least one step behind public opinion throughout the week, and it carries on this way. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It's tempting to say that he might resign, he might not resign. It's never happened before. I think we're all gone into territory we've never been to, and the extent of the public opinion, the government and the president particularly has lost touch with that. He might still catch up, one never knows.
At least his political party, Communist AKL, believes he will, stressing that he's already ordered civil and criminal investigations. 1 week on from the blast, and the Presidential Palace is again the target for protesters, not prepared to wait for those investigations. They want resignations, and they want them now. They had two straight away, and hours before this huge gathering, they got a third, the foreign minister, in what may prove to be an ever-lengthening list of politicians backing away from the head of state. Disclosures in the media have painted a picture of inaction and inefficiency, despite repeated warnings that the weapons seized back in January 2009 posed a serious threat if they were left unprotected from the heat and other elements in their shipping containers at the naval base. The palace is set to remain centre stage as tension continues to rise among a population furious at a disaster that quite simply could and should have been avoided. They want action. Now the heat is on the government, and in particular its president. Roderick Pratt, Press TV, Nicosia.
They came to quit. One by one, the Cypriot cabinet arrived, ready to tender their resignations. All 11 asked to stand down by a president desperate to restore confidence in his government.
The president of Cyprus informed the ministers about his intention to reshuffle the government, and for this very reason he asked for the ministers' resignation from their posts.
The government in Nicosia is under pressure after an explosion at an arms dump which killed 13 people and wrecked the island's main power plant. The weapons had been seized in 2009 and stored on a base near Limassol. The explosion also injured more than 60 people, caused millions of dollars of damage to homes and businesses in the area. The state of the power plant means cuts in electricity supplies are now a regular occurrence, hitting the country's economic recovery. That's brought calls for President Dimitrios Christofias to resign. As the politicians left the meeting, they refused to talk to the cameras. They'll stay in position until replacements are named, the president hoping a new-look cabinet will ease the pressure on him and his government. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera.
Well, a little earlier I spoke to Dr. Bernard Casey of the London School of Economics and University of Warwick. Now, he's an expert on Cyprus, and I asked him what had tipped the political balance in that country.
The problem with Cyprus is that too many people had their eyes off the ball for too long. These were people inside Cyprus, and that might be the explanation for the problem with the power plant, but too many people had their eyes off the ball with respect to Cyprus as an economy and the problems of the Cypriot economy. And what we are seeing is a combination of both of those hitting us all at once.
I guess it's pretty obvious that if Greece is in trouble, then Cyprus is going to be in trouble.
If Greece is in trouble, Cyprus will be. It's obvious, but people had not really thought of it. Cyprus is intimately interrelated to Greece.